So just listen to this, because I've egged it so much that you might fear I've over-egged it, but I don't think I have. I think this is quite brilliant, and it was written in response to our clip, actually, about the weird dislike of Prince Harry and his wife, and where it comes from. And a lot of people are unhappy with the observation that her ethnicity is one of the most obvious reasons to distinguish between her and other female members of the royal family. But so the Twitter account is called Royal Suitor, and as with so much online, I don't know what's real and what's not. But the byline on this is RS Lock. Pay attention. This is really important. It's only a 3-minute read, and I'll share it with you now, because I felt pennies dropping as never before when I read this. So we'll start at the top again. I might do my Jackanory voice for this. All right, I won't. Imagine a society founded on a class structure with the brackets white, close brackets, and the brackets are important, British royal family at the top, as determined by birth and by blood, right? Don't have to imagine it. That's what we've got. It's not a matter of opinion. That's a matter of historical fact. A biracial woman enters the top of the pyramid by marriage, negating both the birth and blood requirement.
Did you catch that segment? Did you truly sit with what James O'Brien shared on air? Because what he unpacked wasn't just an interview, and it wasn't just a clever observation. It was a revelation, a mirror held up to an entire nation, exposing the roots of an obsession that has followed Prince Harry and Meghan Markle since the moment their relationship became public. And today, on this podcast, we're going to unravel that revelation piece by piece, slowly, thoughtfully, with the depth it deserves. Picture the moment. A broadcaster pauses before reading a short commentary, a piece of writing so piercing and so brilliantly crafted that even he hesitates to introduce it. Not because it's weak, but because it's so startlingly accurate that he worries no amount of praise can prepare listeners for what they're about to hear. And then he begins calmly, carefully, reading a response to a question he and a caller tackled earlier that week. Why do so many people harbour such an intense dislike for Meghan Markle? Why does her name ignite a different kind of energy? Why is she treated as though she broke a rule no one ever publicly acknowledged? The commentary he reads doesn't rely on insults or theatrics. It does what honest truth always does. It lays out reality with such clarity that denial becomes impossible. And it starts with a picture we rarely describe out loud: the image of a social pyramid. At its peak sits the white British royal family, positioned there through lineage and centuries of mythology about bloodlines and destiny. This isn't opinion. It's the framework the nation is built upon. Into that peak walks Meghan, a biracial woman, an American, self-assured, educated, charismatic, accomplished. A woman who doesn't arrive by birth or aristocratic ancestry, but by love and marriage. And suddenly, the rules that have gone unquestioned for generations start to feel unstable. Her presence alone, not her actions, not her words, simply her existence, rewrites the story people have been told since childhood. That's where the discomfort begins. The commentary explains that for centuries, society has been conditioned to believe legitimacy comes from heritage, from being born into the right family and carrying the right blood. But Meghan's entrance exposes the fragility of those ideas. And instead of confronting that fragility, the lower tiers of society, columnists, critics, pundits, start scrambling for excuses to justify their unease. They say she's not relatable. They say she's not grateful. They say she's not like us. They say she doesn't fit. These aren't arguments. These are symptoms of a system trying to protect itself from evolution. And while the voices below shout these lines into microphones and newspaper columns, the people who could have challenged the hostility, the ones at the top, remain silent. Whether from fear, confusion, or their own prejudices, they say nothing. That silence becomes permission. And then comes the ugliest moment, when one of Britain's loudest commentators tells Meghan to go back to America. No subtlety, no coded language, just raw exclusion. A command intended to remind her that she is an outsider, an intruder, someone who should never have reached the top of that pyramid in the first place. Eventually, she leaves. Not because she was defeated, but because survival demands self-protection. And Harry, born at the very peak of the structure, chooses his wife, a choice that shakes the foundation of the entire institution. His loyalty exposes a truth the system never wanted the public to consider. Perhaps the top of the pyramid is not the sanctuary people imagine. Perhaps it is suffocating, rigid, outdated, and their departure makes that undeniable. The commentary argues that once Harry and Meghan stepped back, the establishment scrambled to assert control. Titles removed, honours withdrawn, patronages stripped, a symbolic punishment. But none of that changes their position, because Meghan remains tied to the top by marriage, and their children by blood. And here comes the chilling conclusion. The only way to remove Meghan from the peak is to separate her from her husband. And according to the commentary, society, media included, has been relentlessly, aggressively working toward that goal since the moment their relationship became public. A mission disguised as journalism, a crusade masked as concern, a campaign wrapped in tradition. When James O'Brien finishes reading this, he admits he's never encountered anything that so perfectly explains the contradictions, the hostility, the hypocrisy, and the obsession surrounding Meghan. He's read all the newspapers, even the ones that despise her, and none of them come close to this level of insight. And the most astonishing detail? The commentary predicted, days before the official announcement, that Harry and Meghan's military roles and patronages would be removed. It saw the strategy before it unfolded. It understood the institution better than the institution understood itself. That is why this clip is being celebrated as one of the most honest and revealing analyses ever aired. Because it connects every loose thread, class, race, tradition, media, public psychology, into one undeniable truth. Meghan didn't break the system. Her existence exposed the cracks that were already there.